We will start now with section number 7 of this chapter, which is about ions, atoms, and isotopes. So let's start with defining an ion. As we have seen in previous sections, atoms are neutral because they have equal number of protons and electrons. Protons hold a positive charge, while electrons hold a negative charge. However, these atoms tend to lose or gain electrons in some chemical reactions, such as when a metal reacts with a non-metal. So during a chemical reaction, when a metal reacts with a non-metal, these atoms will tend to lose or gain electrons. When an atom gains one or more electrons, it gains an overall negative charge because it has more electrons than protons. So the number of electrons will be greater than the number of protons, and thus the negative charge will be greater than the positive charge, and the overall charge will be negative. In this case, this ion is called an ion. On the other hand, some atoms will tend to lose one or more electrons, and thus the number of protons will be greater than the number of electrons, and then the positive charge will be greater than the negative charge, and the overall charge will be positive. When an atom loses one or more electrons, it becomes a cation, and it holds an overall positive charge. Let's look now at negative ions, or what is called anions. So we will take an example, which is the oxygen atom. The atomic number of an oxygen atom is 8, which means that it has 8 protons and 8 electrons because it is a neutral atom. So an oxygen atom has 8 protons inside the nucleus, and it has 8 neutrons as well. It has also 8 electrons in energy levels, where the first 2 electrons, as you can see here, are in the inner shell, which means the shell nearer to the nucleus, and the remaining 6 electrons are in the outer shell. However, in some cases, the oxygen atom will gain 2 more electrons, and thus it will have 10 electrons. However, the number of protons of any element won't change, and thus the number of protons of this oxygen ion is 8. So we have 8 protons and 10 electrons in this oxygen ion. The overall charge of this ion will be 8 plus 10 minus, which is 2 minus. So the oxygen ion holds a 2 minus charge, and thus the formula of the ion will be O, which is the symbol of oxygen, and here we will write 2 minus. Let's move now to positive ions or cations. So as we have said, a cation is formed when an atom tends to lose electrons. So let's take the lithium atom as an example. The atomic number of the lithium atom is 3, and thus it has 3 protons and 3 electrons, as you can see here. This atom will lose 1 electron, and thus it will have 2 electrons, and thus the lithium ion will have 2 electrons only. However, the number of protons will not change, and thus the lithium ion will have 3 protons also as the lithium atom. We will calculate now the overall charge of this ion. Remember, it has 3 protons, and thus this will give us a plus 3 charge. On the other hand, it has only 2 electrons, and this is a minus 2 charge, and thus the overall charge will be 3 plus 2 minus, which is 1 plus, and thus it forms a positive ion with a single positive charge, which is Li plus.